Hello there, it's just me, your old buddy Grizzly Jim, and today I just wanted to take a quick look at one of my favourite things, which is the bow quiver, and more specifically the Selway Bow Quiver. When it comes to archery, I don't like to overcomplicate anything, and as well as my archery, that sort of comes down to my equipment as well. I don't like taking a whole bunch of equipment out into the woods with me. I'm not one of those guys that's, got a backpack and a quiver with loads of stuff hanging off it. Now, I know a few guys like that. Some of my really good friends are people like that, and they are useful to go shooting with, because if you ever need anything, they've usually got it, but not me. Maybe I'm selfish, I don't know, but I like to travel light. So I like to shoot a bow with a bow quiver on it, my arrows, my shooting glove, and that's usually about it. It depends on how long we're going into the woods for. You might take a backpack with some supplies and whatnot, but if it's just a day out in the woods shooting, I travel as light as possible, and using a bow quiver helps me facilitate that. So I wanted to take a look at these, and we've just had these in. I'm really chuffed to bits to get these in. It's the type of quiver I use. I've used a Selway quiver for years and years and years and years. I really like them. They're the product I like to use, so I figured it'd be nice to talk about them and just give you a little bit of an overview of what we have in and how to pick the right quiver for you. There are three types of quiver. You've got the slide on, which is on this one, and that comes in a couple of different sizes depending on the width of your limbs. You have the quick detach, which is very similar to the slide on, but you've got like a sort of rubberized sort of mechanism here that you can unscrew, and it makes it a little bit easier to put on and take off your bow, and you can sort of lock it into place with that there. Although that part is a little bit more bulky, but it's a little bit more practical, so that's the other option. The third option is the strap-on, which serves a great purpose if you're into that sort of thing. I personally don't like the strap-on. I don't think it looks as nice as the other two, but if you are wanting something you can take on and off easily without having to slide something up and down the limb, then the strap-on is absolutely great for you. Comes in two different types of material. You've got the rawhide, like these guys, which I think is just gives you that fantastic kind of aesthetic. I think they look great with any trad bow. Although saying that, I have a rawhide on the bow quiver I use on my RK1, and it still looks great. So you've got the kind of traditional looking rawhide quiver with a more modern looking bow. It still looks great. So I think they look good. They're all stitched up the side with sort of proper sinew and everything. But yeah, I think the rawhide are pretty cool. It also comes in a plastic version if you didn't want to go for that kind of vibe. A little bit cheaper as well, but just as good. Same quiver really, just slightly different material. So if you're into the plastic, then that's something to take into consideration. Now, the important thing to think about when you are getting a bow quiver is obviously make sure it's the right size. As I mentioned before, they use the slide-ons especially come in two different sizes. You've got one which is the smaller one, which is used for stick bows, which for very narrow limbs. So I think this one goes up to about I've got it written down here actually. It's not very professional, but it's okay. It's between 1 inch and 1 3/8 of an inch wide. If you've got a limb that's bigger than that, then you want to jump up to what I've got here, which is the one for the recurve and flat bow, which I think goes up to just over about 2 inches, I think. But this is one of the old mountains, and I've got that slit on there, and it's really solidly in place. It's not going to move or anything, but it wasn't too difficult to put on there either. But the important thing to consider when you are using a bow quiver is you don't want the bow quiver influencing your shot in any way. You want the bow quiver to just be a bow quiver. You don't want it to affect the limbs or your shot in any way. So it's important when you are putting your bow quiver on. I can just slide this one up and show you down here. Now you can see on this limb here, you've got what is called the fade. I'm sure you can see that there. That's where the riser section goes down to almost nothing into the limb. Now, anything above the fade it's gonna, if you put the quiver there, it's going to affect the shot. It's gonna make your limbs slower. It's gonna, the bow isn't going to be shooting as intended. So when you are putting your, I'll try and show you from this side actually, it's not going to obscure it a bit less. So when you are putting your, I was trying to avoid the microphone, when you are putting your bow quiver on your bow, always try and make sure that you are as close to the fade or as past the fade as you possibly can, because the closer to the inside of the bow you have, the less influence it's going to have on your shot, and your bow is just going to shoot the way you want it to shoot, the way you always shoot. So yeah, that goes for top and bottom when it comes to placement. But as long as you've got it on the insides of the fade, it shouldn't offer you any problems whatsoever. Getting used to it, it's going to obviously throw the weight of the bow off a little bit if you're not used to it. But I find it difficult to shoot without a bow quiver now. I've shot with one for such a long time. It's if I go and do any sort of WA 3D, I'm not allowed to use a bow quiver. So I have to get used to shooting a bow without bow quiver again. But it adds a little bit of mass to the bow. Some people say it adds some vibration dampening, which I guess potentially it does. But at the end of the day, if you like shooting with a bow quiver, it's up to you whether or not you shoot with a bow quiver or not. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So yeah, that's a little bit on placement. The two options you've got for grippers, I think we sell a 4 gripper, so it takes 4 arrows, or a 6 arrow gripper. I think we're also getting the 5 in as well, and they're easy enough to slide out. You should be able to just, I don't know if it should be able to just pull them out, I think, on this one. Yeah, they take a little bit of work, but they just slide out, and you can just swap that gripper out for whatever size you want, really. You sometimes might need to lube this a little bit with. Sometimes I think I used to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol or something, isopropanol. Same with the sliding on as well of the limbs. If you find them a little bit stiff, go for a little bit of water or a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I've used spit in the past. It's not the prettiest, but it works. I would avoid definitely using sort of a kind of a lubricant like a Vaseline or something like that. It's just going to cause all sorts of problems. But you shouldn't have too much of an issue swapping things out on these. But these are really nice grippers, really soft rubber. So I've had sort of a couple of different diameters. Obviously, if you're talking like the teeny micro diameters, you can get a much smaller gripper. But yeah, that's that there. Let me just slide that back in. I'll sort that out in a bit. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about these quivers I should let you know. Actually, there is. One of the more important things about a bow quiver, and I see a lot of people do it, and I don't want to say it's wrong, because I've always said in archery there's a polar right and a polar wrong. Everything else is personal preference. But when it comes to arrow placement in your quiver, I would highly recommend. Now this is the placement I have on my my quiver. I haven't put holes in them because someone else can use this, so I don't want to waste it. But this is, I use a 5 gripper, but I've got a sort of a bit of a zigzag pattern here. And what you want to avoid is down this end having all your feathers touching, because when the feathers are touching, you make a shot, they're going to vibrate together and create a lot of noise. So if you can have your arrows sitting sort of in this sort of fashion, your arrows aren't going to rub together and it's not going to make a lot of noise. But wherever you put your arrows in here is personal preference. But if you spread them out here, they're going to be spread out down there. What you really want to avoid is having your arrows in a nice straight line in your bow quiver, because that's going to make them straight all the way down, and you're going to get a lot of noise, a lot of vibration from your feathers or whatever you're using down on the gripper end. But that is just a little thing I like to do on mine. It's at the end of the day, it's your quiver. You can put the arrows in there however you want, but that's how I do it. But yeah, I'm really chuffed to bits that we've got these Selway quivers in. I get emailed quite a lot saying, "Oh, what's that bow quiver you've got on there?" So now we've got them here at Merlin. So that's always good. So you can check those out. I'll put links in the on the website, the descriptions of everything, so you can have a look for yourself. But yeah, At the end of the day, you got to shoot what makes you happy, shoot what puts the biggest smile on your face, and if that's out in the woods with a bow quiver on it, you know, 4, 5, 6 arrows in your quiver, depending on how many you've got, you're in for a good day. So that's. I hope you found that useful. Again, just a little bit of a show and tell, really. I think I've covered everything. But anyway, you take care, shoot straight, and I'll see you on the internet. Bye-bye.